1 minute.
You got 30 dang seconds. See the light, it's on.
Gordon, you ain't gonna start without me. Where's all our people at?
I'm here. What do you mean?
Talk July. Only the important one showed up, huh?
Good afternoon.
The important one's +1.
Okay.
I have your attention, please. It's time to start our regular meeting of the Perry Municipal Authority. It is July 21st, 2014. Roll call, please.
Stroller.
Here.
Dow. Moxley. Marshall. Norman. Nation.
Here.
Wade.
Present.
Warner. Here. Johnson.
Here. I declare a quorum. Our invocation, please.
Sure. Let's pray. Father, we love you and we thank you for this time that we get to be together. Lord, we thank you that we get to come together and discuss the things that are happening in our city. Lord, we ask for your direction. We ask for your wisdom. Father, we ask for your presence to be in this place to lead us and guide us in everything that we do. May we honor you with everything. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. First item, of course, is the consent agenda. Are there anything within the minutes that you want to talk about or discuss?
Move to approve.
Second.
Stroller.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. We'll move down to item 4, which is comments from those assembled pertaining to the PMA. Does anyone have any comments? Seeing none, item 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Anyone need to make any inquiries of the governing body? Seeing none, item number 6. It is to consider selection of a local financial depository and financial service provider. Since we no longer have conflict of interest, that is, one of the council persons being responsible for a bank, we can and are soliciting then a competitive solicitation from financial officers. You see that in the letter that's attached and within your attachments. Anyone have any questions or would like to make discussion on this item? Seeing none, what is your pleasure, council?
Would you like Meredith to report?
Yes.
So we went out for, we sent out bids. Copies of those, of the request that we sent out is in your packet. We have received 2 responses back. The 2 local banks both bid. The basic difference between First Bank and Exchange Bank, those were the 2 that bid. First Bank has established fees for our research, our wire fee, our cashier's fee, our overdraft fee, and our minimum balance fee. Exchange Bank, all of those fees were 0. When we look at the interest rate that was offered on the checking and money market, as well as those CDs that are in every single CD category, Exchange Bank's proposal was 5 to 15 basis points higher than that was offered by First Bank. So based upon that, looks like the city will save or will generate an additional $6,000 to $12,000 by going with the Exchange Bank proposal, and that's based upon our current June numbers, cash that we have right now. So it's the CFO's recommendation. I'm sorry he's not here, but it's his recommendation that we move everything over to Exchange Bank and start seeing that increase.
Your action, council.
I would like to make a motion when we go with the recommendation of the CFO.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Stroller.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Abstain.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Woo! Any new business come before the council? not council, but the authority. Any new business? PMA. Item 8,
Motion adjourned?
Second.
roll call please.
Stroller?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Nation?
Yes.
Wade?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes. 6:20 PM, call to order the regular meeting of the City Council, City of Perry, July 21st, 2014. Roll call, please.
Stroller?
Here.
Dow? Moxley? Marshall?
Here.
Norman? Nation?
Here.
Wade?
Present.
Warner? Johnson?
Here. The consent agenda is our first item. Anyone wish to have any items removed from the consent agenda without further discussion, please let us know.
I'd like to remove DH,
Pardon me again?
DH.
H of item B, okay.
Move to approve the consent agenda less DH.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Stroller?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Nation?
Yes.
Wade?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
I would just like to know what H is. It says, an agreement between Penn City and Campbell Communications. What is that for?
It's for broadcasts. We're kind of bringing the expertise of Penn, or combining the expertise of Penn and the equipment that we have with the expertise of Campbell Communications, which for him is the audio, because he does play-by-play of sporting events and that sort of thing. And so this would be a combining of the two resources so that we can better, provide better sports broadcasting, local, Perry Maroon sports.
Are we
They already do football, correct? They've done
Right.
football the past few years.
Right.
Do we pay them?
No, there's no, they receive no pay.
So it's just an agreement of some type?
It's just basically a general agreement that,
Okay. That's all.
and we've kind of delineated the responsibilities of each entity. It's, you know, this is the first time that we've done this. Brock Campbell came to us and came to Tyson, and they had discussed it. And I think each of them wanted to provide better broadcasts, and they saw this as a way to do that.
Okay.
Move to approve DH.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Stroller?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Nation?
Yes.
Wade?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes. Any comments from those assembled? Anyone in the audience need to make comments pertaining to the agenda items tonight?
Jennifer?
Yes, I was just gonna discuss Christie's. We have Christie's Days coming up, and it's.
You are who now?
Main Street, Jennifer Kine with Main Street.
Thank you.
Sorry. Anyway, yes, Jennifer Kine with Main Street, and we have Crazy Days coming up. It's July 23rd and the 24th, and it's just discounts around the square from local merchants. And we're new this year. We're gonna have a scavenger hunt that businesses can participate in, and we're gonna offer it to the community. You come and get the scavenger hunt from us or one of the businesses, and you go around and you look for the items in the store, and if you find them all, you'll be entered into a drawing, and you have a chance to win $100. So, and we'll draw that on Thursday evening, because Thursday is going to be our Cultivate Family Fun Night at the Courthouse Park. We're gonna have petting zoo, kids game, an inflatable slide for the kids, and then snow cones and popcorn, and entertainment on the bandstand. So that will be from 6 to 8:30, and then at dusk we're going to do a movie in the park. So, and then we'll do the drawing for the scavenger hunt, just a way for people to kind of get incentive to go shop a little bit more downtown. And then also we got today, fresh off the press, our planners came in. So they'll be on sale soon for $15. So they just came in and community planners. So that is it. Thank you. And then, if you want to pass those around, that's one. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Dolores, and I live here in Perry, and I am a taxpayer here, and I've been here for about 5 years, and I'm concerned about the grass that's here. And I called the enforcer, I don't know his name, I don't know anybody really in this town, just the people I meet when I go to the store or cook something, I take to them. But he told me that I need to get in the ditch and cut the grass. And I think if I'm paying taxes, I thought the city was responsible for cutting the grass in the ditches where the curbs and things are. So I looked at the park down on 15th Street. I took pictures of places where grass is so high. And we have old people live here, we have kids that live here. They can get bit by mosquitoes, and that's what I'm concerned about. But after he told me to get in the to cut the grass in the ditch, I said, let me go to y'all council meeting, because I think that's not fair to me, to get down in the ditch and cut grass, if we're paying the city to cut the grass around the town. I don't know, that's their responsibility, not if we paying taxes, they should cut the grass in the ditches and the creek that's in the park. The park grass is so high, you know, kids can get lost in there, somebody, we never know. So they need to try to do better. And some of the fire hydrants, took pictures of that. You can't even see the fire hydrant if you have a fire. The grass is grown around on the, I don't know which side, south side or east side, but I know it's one side of the town that I went and took pictures for the grass around the stop sign. They need to cut their grass. We're not we live here, and if we're paying the city to do that, they need to cut the grass. That's their responsibility.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You live on what street, ma'am?
No, 77 North.
Mayor, would you like that issue addressed?
Yes, I would, thank you.
It all, of course, depends on what piece of property we're talking about, and I'm unfamiliar with this piece of property, but in most instances, the city is divided into lots and blocks, and on those lots, there may be a right-of-way, a street right-of-way that extends onto the property, because the right-of-way is wider than the street. You know, can encompass the sidewalk and other parts. So in many parts of the town, there may be a right-of-way or there may be an easement, and that property is owned. Of course, you know, this depends on where we're talking about, but throughout the city, that property is often owned by the property owner. Okay, and the city may have an easement, or it may have a right-of-way over that portion, which is the drainage ditch. Okay, but that property still is owned by that property owner. Now, I would say that if it is a drainage ditch, there's probably a dual obligation. You know, because cities have responsibilities to maintain their rights-of-way and their drainage easements and the like. But it's only a dual responsibility. The owner also has a responsibility to maintain their property. Now, I don't know, does anyone know, do you know, Chief, how many miles of road we have in the community? I mean, it's probably, you know, 23 miles. I mean, I have no idea. It's a whole lot of miles of roadway that we have within the community. And it has rained, as we all know, tremendously. And so there is a whole lot of growth, and this is truly an unusual time. So I am sure that there are probably areas of the community where the mowers haven't gotten to because of that growth. I did notice that out in the commercial park, that that grass out there had gotten high and that it is mowed, and that is a giant tract. So, I mean, to put it together, if you own the lot, you know, and there's a drainage easement, or it's a corner lot or something, and you'd have to look at each particular piece of property. But if there is an easement there, it's still that owner's property, and they still have a duty to maintain it. However, the city probably also has a duty if we are using that for a purpose, and that is for a drainage sway or whatever. we can only get to those portions that we can get to. But, you know, have to look at the particular piece of property, but the owner may also be responsible for taking care of that property. Now, I would ask that we be reasonable if the ditch is real deep, if we don't want somebody climbing down there. I suppose that we do have some equipment that we could use, and we can look at particular circumstances, and I would suggest that we look at that in this case.
Dolores,
Yes.
I would like to know your address so I can come and look at
Somebody
this.
cut the grass. I don't know who cut the grass, but somebody did cut that grass. And which I don't know who the person was that cut it, but I do appreciate it. But I just like I said, I went to the park, and the park is terrible. You got a 1701 Highway 77 North, excuse me. But I did go to 15 Park down, and the guy was cutting the grass, and I asked him why didn't he cut the grass in the creek. He said, we're not allowed, we don't cut that anymore. I said, I never heard that. If you live in an area, that's where most of your visitors come in, is on 15th Street and come into the town. Well, I wouldn't want to go to your park because the grass is so high out there. And that's right in the area coming into town. That's my concern, you know. And if we can't have it, well, we need to volunteer to go out and cut it ourselves, if that's the way it's gonna be, if the city can't do it. But I think the people's in here, they do pay tax, and I know they want the town to look good. I would. I know I do. I mean, this is where you get visitors to come into your town with a beautification. And where I live at, it was terrible when I got it and I cleaned it. I mean, I didn't do it because I had to. I lived there. I want to look good. Even though it's an old house, I want to look good. And anywhere you to pick it up and make it look good, it's going to make people want to come here and live and visit.
Thank you. We do have that issue in a number of areas around town that we need to address. Dolores, your last name, please?
Apron.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I can just briefly comment. The city does appreciate you and all the other property owners that have taken some pride in your properties and mowed and cleaned up and all of that. And the city does rely heavily on the property owners to take care of their properties, because it would be a mammoth undertaking if we were to do each and every, ditch and in front of people's houses. And it would require some additional employees as well. So if each property owner can kind of take on a little bit for themselves, then that eliminates at least some of that responsibility from the city, and we can put our efforts in other areas where needed. But like I say, I appreciate what you've done and bringing this to us, and we'll certainly take a look at it.
Anyone else need to speak before the council this evening? Item 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Anyone, council or the city staff, need to make comments?
May I say I was impressed with how the city came together for the thing on Friday afternoon.
Thank you.
That was, didn't know what to expect, but when I showed up out there, I was pretty floored by how it all looked and everything. Everything was set up just right. So with the weather the way it was and the last minute notice and everything, I think that you guys prepared really well for that.
The city employees, Brenda the street with the parks, Sam with the streets department, our conservatory group that they all came together. The conservative group brought in chairs, brought in a trailer. Brenda mowed till she ran out of gas, I believe, and Sam and all the guys were cleaning up, picking up, and arranging. The conservative also brought in about 70 chairs. We used our tent out there for cover for some of the dignitaries, and it was a great effort by the city and the conservative and even the county and others to get that program.
Lance West had his folks out there mowing. Ditch Witch provided the bleachers. We didn't really know whether or not we needed both sets of bleachers, but there were about 150 people there, possibly more, I'm not sure, but we kind of trying to count heads, and we felt like that was a good number. So we were very glad that we had both sets of bleachers.
The number of people that are here tonight were there, and we really appreciate that. And it was a very informative meeting. It was a national kickoff of a program by the USDA and the NCRS to do repairs on old flood control dams. And ours is considered a high-risk dam because of the residences and the businesses downstream. That is, if that dam failed, it would flood downtown and the houses between here and there. So it is a high-risk area. It's not the high risk because the dam might break any minute. The risk is what's downstream from it. So they're going to proactively fix it before it breaks type of situation. And so the ground surveys, the planning and engineering will start as a result of this ceremony and this decision by the USDA. And our legislative group here in Oklahoma, our staffs, our state representative Frank Lucas got this bill added to the farm bill, funded. So it's a great effort to get this structure reinforced, repaired, and brought up to modern safety standards. It hadn't been touched since 1966. So it's due. And it's built in the 30s. Yes, ma'am.
Then I think we can also thank the council that was in the past that asked them to take a look at it.
Yes.
So this council has a lot to do with the reason why it happened.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
true.
I would echo that. Thank you, Karen, for the record, for Dixie's record. The location, having this announcement in Oklahoma, obviously was because Congressman Lucas was a major driver of the Farm Bill and the inclusion of the funding in that. So it made a lot of sense that Oklahoma be the location for this national announcement. And so, but then it begs the question, why Perry? And in talking with the state NRCS people out of Stillwater, it really was because of Perry's cooperative spirit, willingness to go forward with the planning on this, even though there was no money for design or construction or anything. That we were cooperative, ready to try to address the concerns, the deficiencies with Site 62. And so because of that, they said it was a very easy decision when they were asked for a location in Oklahoma. They said, sure, Perry. So I think we have to applaud the council members that have entered into those discussions. And those were really difficult discussions because you're looking at a price tag of millions and millions of dollars. And it was kind of a leap of faith in a way, I would say. So, so I think, that bodes well for Perry and our spirit of cooperation. I would say that the next step is for NRCS and the City of Perry to sit down, have individual meetings with the property owners and those who reside in the lake area to address their concerns and try to answer their questions. We aren't very far along, so there's probably going to be a lot more questions than there are answers. And so, communicating, establishing a good line of communication with everyone, I think is really important. And I know the people in the state NRCS office and also the local offices are very dedicated to establishing that line of communication with everyone who has an interest. And so, I would just make one comment about the, we had, let's see, a week ago Friday, I had received the phone call from Bill Porter in Stillwater. And so on Monday, we all gathered together at 9 o'clock, started planning. Everybody all came together from the state offices, all over. And, and so, we had 4 days, and I kind of likened this to, I can identify with this, but you get a phone call from your son that his fiance and her parents are coming to visit in 4 days, and they've never been to your home, you've never even met them sometime, haven't really met them. And so you're freaking out and you're running around trying to get everything spiffed up for your company, which is essentially what we did last week. We focused every resource that we had into getting everything cleaned up. And you often think, wow, this is really nice. We've got it all cleaned up. Why don't we keep it this way all the time? Don't you identify with that when you have Thanksgiving or Christmas and you have everybody come in, you get everything all cleaned up and you think, oh, I'm going to keep it this way all the time.
Amen.
And then for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out that way. So we'll do our best to keep it, had already been cleaned up for 4th of July. So, a lot of it was, pretty easy to do, but we went above and beyond. We, mowed some areas that hadn't been mowed for a long time. Cleared out some dead trees. Wade Warren helped us with that. So anyway, it was, everybody all came together, and as I knew they would, and it's no surprise that all of our folks all came together and made for we got great comments from everyone. It was great. So now Tyson's prepared a short video.
Yes.
Would this be a good time
I think
to
so.
cue that
During
up?
this time.
Tyson?
He just fell over.
All of the speakers. And then afterwards, he was able to have interviews, one-on-one interviews with Congressman Lucas, Governor Fallon, Jason Weller, who's the chief NRCS out of Washington, D.C. Not sure who all else he interviewed, but so between Friday afternoon and this evening, he's prepared a short clip. And if we're ready to show that, whenever you are, Tyson.
Federal law is the Authorization Act that makes it possible to have built the upstream flood control systems in the first place. They cover the liability issues. They provided the lion's share of the resources for the initial construction. But the structures are maintained and taken care of by a local government, whether it's the Conservation District, the city, the Water Conservancy District. But in this case, once a structure hits that 50-year mark, the question of who improves it, who brings it up to code, prepares it so that for another 50 years or 100 years it'll still be a viable thing. That's why we passed the Rehab Act, because most local governments, most city governments, didn't have the resources, the capacity to do it.
The Natural Resource Conservation Service, NRCS is our acronym. We were appropriated these dollars. So the new Farm Bill, the 2014 Farm Bill, provided these resources to our agency. The key here is that this is a cost share program, and it's a locally led program. So we're here really at the invitation of local communities like here, City of Perry, but also the local conservation district, the Noble County Conservation District, as well as the Oklahoma Conservation Commission. They're the ones that really lead these types of projects for us. So we can't do these by ourselves. It's really, again, at that locally and state-led approach, which is the key to the success.
So once again, a cost share program. The federal government pays the lion's share, but the local entities, be it state, water district, city, contribute too, and the local entities then, once the rehabilitation is done, maintain the dam.
They identify the need, they identify where we can work together best. They have the money to then cost share with us and leverage our money. We can then come in and help provide the engineering expertise, but also the financial assistance to help share in the cost of the construction of these facilities.
Well, it was not an easy year to be able to put extra money this year towards our water conservation efforts in our state, because we did have a little bit of a challenge in our budget for our state, but the legislature and myself made a commitment that we're going to do everything we can to protect our dams and reservoirs. We know that water and infrastructure is very important to the state of Oklahoma, and so we are very proud as a state to be able to partner with our local water conservation districts, certainly our state conservation, and then of course the federal side with our federal partners like Congressman Lucas, who helped pass the 2014 Farm Bill with the money for the National Watershed Program and Dam Restructuring Program in our nation. And so it's all of us working together in collaboration and partnership to be able to make sure that we protect the health, the safety of our reservoirs and our dams, and also make sure that we have recreational use of water, and certainly it's important for our agriculture sector in our state, not to mention our wildlife sector too.
So it's a partnership, but remember, flood protection is not just at the dam itself, it's everybody below the dam. So when you step across the top of this dam, you're talking about an effect all the way to New Orleans. So that helps everybody, so therefore it's a national project in that the protection is all the way from this structure to the sea.
Teachers.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Tyson.
This will play on Penn so that everybody could see it, those who weren't able to go, or those that were able to go would like to hear the comments from afterwards.
Right into your report.
Okay. I will briefly report, because we've already talked about Friday, so that's pretty well taken care of. The pre-bid for the contractors who are interested in bidding on the ball field complex will be this Thursday at 10 a.m. And then the opening of bids will be the following Thursday on July 31st at 10:30. And both of those will be in this room, the council courtroom. So I heard from Jeff today that 6 contractors have obtained plans from them. And then also it's available out digitally in 6 plan rooms, so that's getting lots of coverage, and it's out there for all the contractors to see, review, and determine if they're interested in submitting a bid. So this Thursday at 10 o'clock will be the pre-bid, and it is mandatory that the contractors be there. If they're not there, then they won't be allowed to submit a bid. The City Manager State Summer Conference was last week in Guthrie. With everything else going on, I went to a little bit of that. And it's always good to talk to your colleagues from around the state, and it kind of makes you realize that, you know, your community is much better off than most of these other communities around the state. So one of the things they always ask the city managers to bring a gift basket kind of representative of their community, and so I just like to give a big thank you to Holiday Inn Express. They gave a one-night stay for a visitor, you know, for coming to the community. Ditch Witch came through like troopers, as they always do. The Chamber of Commerce, Perry Main Street, and Perry Public Power. So I would hazard to guess we had the best gift basket there, because it was much better than the one I won. I know that. So one final item, we just learned late Friday, I think it was after 5 on Friday, that Burlington Northern was planning to close the railroad crossing. It's the one on First Street, just before you get to the convenience, the transfer station, or the dump as some people call it. And so we talked them into waiting until tomorrow to close that crossing, to make repairs so that we could get notice out to the people who would be the most impacted. And so, and it will be in tomorrow's paper that the closing, and they'll be probably closed down at least through the end of the week, and maybe longer depending on how long it takes to get those repairs made. So access to the transfer station, it'll have to go the long way around. You can get there, but it's just the long way around. So that's all I have.
Does that mean we're not going to have any trains going through for a week?
Well, at that location.
Maybe.
So.
So going to see.
They'll find somebody to get through it.
Yeah,
Really nice
they
to
got
see us
another
coming
route.
to town when you went last Thursday.
Yeah, well, I didn't brag a whole lot,
Yeah.
so, you know, I thought, you know.
Come around to my house.
Yeah, the governor's
Yeah.
coming to my house tomorrow.
Item 7.
What's the status, can we go back to city
Yeah.
manager?
Okay.
Can we have questions?
Yes, you can.
Oh, thank you. What's the status of John Vance and the access road?
And the access road. We have handed off the deed to Mr. Vance. He now has the deed. He completed all the contractual requirements in his contract with the city of Perry. And so the land has been transferred over to him. He has a few loose ends to tie up with GM, as we understand it, and has plans to have a groundbreaking very soon. And I haven't, that was maybe a couple of weeks ago that we did that, and so they had estimated it would take about 30 days to tie up the loose ends with GM, and I'll have that on my to-do list, is to call them and see if they have a date in mind so that we can start, they'll put together the grand opening and all the fanfare and all of that, but we want to have everybody notified so that we can participate and be involved.
What's the plan on the road?
On the road,
We're all gonna walk in there, or just park
Eventually
out
wear a
there and
path.
walk in?
I hope so.
Set up a 4-wheel drive shuttle
Yes,
service?
well, we were hoping that we'd get ODOT's approval on the frontage road so that we could bid all that out together, but the plan is.
We don't need their approval for the other road.
No, we don't. We don't need
So
anybody's
when
approval.
will we start on that?
So
But we also weren't wanting, the heavy construction to tear up the road. When we spoke to him, we talked about, I guess Mac is gonna be doing.
Tom Mack is
Tom
going to
Mack
do the
is
dirt
gonna be
work.
doing the dirt work. And so we talked about just cutting it and laying down some kind of gravel or stabilizing it so that we wouldn't have a brand-new road torn up. John agreed with that. And so it's just a
So when
matter
will we
of.
start doing that? Cut the
Well,
road?
it would probably be, it all depend on what that cost is. It may be if it's his, if Mac is his
Are we
guy.
gonna bid that out, or we're just giving that
It,
to
it all,
Mac, or what?
it all depends what the price is. If we can get, it may be, I'm not really familiar with what it takes to cut a road, and how we would stabilize it. We would have to bid it if,
We're on bid.
if it was over $50,000. We would do a lesser bid if it was under that, but, and it may be that he's willing to go in there and do the initial
That is
cutting,
contracted.
and we furnish gravel. So that's what we talked about, and at the meeting, I think we were in agreement that we're not gonna go there and build a road to have it, torn up by the heavy equipment, the graders and all that will be down there. But we're gonna have to get on it.
He's gonna need access, right?
He's gonna need
Yes.
access.
Yep.
But we discussed that subject, and at least at that point, we were all in agreement that we were working together, and he wasn't demanding it. Although, as you know, it's in the contract.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the contract, but,
Performance.
yeah, there's,
Specific performance, right?
there's a performance on our side, but right now, we're working together, and there doesn't seem to be an issue.
Okay. What's the status of the armory? What's our plan with the armory?
I don't know, there is a committee that was appointed before
I've
I
set
became
off-
city manager, so.
I've set off the blueprints. Right now, we've got a set of blueprints, but we can't read them. And we got them from the, they were in charge of it on.
Military department.
Yeah, and they sent them to us, and nobody knows how to print them out on a, big sheets, how they do it. And so I've sent them back to Ron France at OU to possibly make some prints for us. And that's where we're at.
They were old blueprints, weren't
They were very old. They sent them to me
Actually,
on a
blue.
disc.
They were
Email.
blueprints, they were blue.
they? They used those up until the late 60s.
Yeah.
I have it set in my car on the dam. I just picked up today.
We have a large document printer, but I don't know if it would have
Well,
been able to.
she sent it to me as an email, so I don't know if that would have.
They've been too
He's
long.
got a bunch of kids that are architects like asking maybe they can redo it. Redo it over.
Cool. As of this date, there has not been any decisions on the armory. They just got plans, we're trying to get those. And,
It is
this
being
council's going to have to
used.
decide what to do.
Right.
It is being used. The youth wrestling program uses the south end for the youth wrestling program. And also the archery club uses it for indoor practice. That basement is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
The firing range down there. So they've been using it. The Friends of the Library use it for the used book sale. And just today, the hospital is going to be using it for the next 2 or 3 weeks to store materials and equipment they're receiving delivery of for the new clinic, so that they'll have a nearby location to just have that available to the contractors when they're ready for it. So you'll see some activity there this week.
And I think last year Ditch Witch used it for some type of display, but, you know, they can only use it during the winter time because we have no air conditioning.
Also, I think there were a couple of groups that used it to build floats for the celebration. And we also have it, it's a designated location by the Red Cross for shelter in certain circumstances. So we've entered into an agreement with the Red Cross, American Red Cross, for that to be available if needed.
Christmas parties.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Employee Christmas party, so.
Yeah.
We've had the last couple of years. Has it been more than that?
More than that.
More than that, anyway. It's been
More than
that. City employee Christmas gathering, so, has been held there, so. There's probably other things, but I'm just not remembering.
Any other questions or comments? Meredith, would you do the financial?
Yes, financials. So if Russ is gonna miss a meeting, I'm so glad it's June because math's easy on June. Your budget to actual should be 100%, right? I could do that one. All right, schedule of cash. As of June 30, City of Perry had $3.8 million sitting in unrestricted cash, $3.4 million in restricted cash, total cash of $7.3 million. Hold on to your seats. That's up about 25% from where we were June 30 of 2013. A little over 6% of that is sitting in unrestricted. The rest of that is sitting in restricted cash based upon our sales tax collections and some grant money, the oil and gas royalties that we've seen. So a pretty nice swing in cash that you all have seen. So questions on cash?
How much was unrestricted amount?
$3.8 million. Up about 6%. Flipping over to the general fund. 100%. We should be hitting 100% on all these benchmarks. And to give you all some perspective, cash basis sales tax, I haven't done the accrual adjustments, but cash basis sales tax for the entire city, this includes the restricted portions as well, we're up $331,000 over where we were last year. That's 17% increase in sales tax that we've seen, which has also contributed to our increase in cash, obviously. As you look for the 12 months, $277,000 of profit. We didn't hit budget when you look in total. Our budget was $350,000. Well, the main piece, that most significant difference is a transfer. We thought we were going to need some additional cash from PMA. We didn't end up needing all of that cash based upon how our sales tax trended. So we budgeted $2.8 million of transfer. We only ended up transferring over $2.4 million. There's a $400,000 swing right there. So because we didn't end up transferring over that cash, you saw our profit decrease a bit. In addition to that change in profit, We also saw quite a bit of savings specifically on capital projects. As you look at the street department, as you look at the police department, as you look at the ambulance, all of those saw some significant savings on their expenses, mainly due to timing of capital projects. Couldn't get them all the way finished, or we found better deals. We kind of talked through those. I know Russ has talked through those with you throughout the different months, but in total, it's a really, really strong year for the city of Cary. Even though when you look at that bottom line, it doesn't look like we hit our budget to transfer.
The ambulance revenue, is
Yes.
that collections on runs, or is that the tax piece?
Both.
The both?
Yeah, so it's the
Ad
runs
valorem and
and
sales
the,
tax.
yes, the runs, the ad valorem, and the sales tax all floating in there together. That ad valorem piece, you know that we budgeted at 90%, and we ended up hitting right around 120% of that budget. So that's what's creating a little bit there. Other questions? Okay, last one, PMA. Total net income for the entire year, $887,000, compared to a loss of $400,000 of our budget. We just talked about that $400,000 swing. So you take that, takes our budget back up to even. That left us with, where did the additional $882,000 of profit come from? If you'll look at our operating, our margins, we did really, really well as far as controlling expenses. Again, because of that, because of those capital projects, the deals that we found, or that we didn't get all the way through one project, or didn't end up needing a transformer all the way out there. So operating income, a little over $3 million, and everything but water, which we expected this year, covered its cost, so very strong. I'm very pleased with these financials. I've had a lot of year-end financials this year that sales tax didn't trend well, and we had that cool summer to begin with, so Perry did well. Perry did well. I have been in contact with Chuck Crooks. He's your auditor. He's excited. He wants to get started in October. Hopefully present that second meeting in October, so you'll get excited about that.
You'll let us know. They will just walk in the doors.
Oh, no. No, they will not.
Although we'll be happy to have them, you know.
I will have a specific date as it gets closer.
Thank you, Mary. Item 8, you will look in your agenda, consider selection of local local financial depository and financial service provider. Proposals were solicited from local banks to serve as the financial depository and financial services provider for the city. The chief financial officers made their recommendation, so how, we're not voting on it.
I make the motion that we go with the recommendation of the chief financial officer.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Stroller,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Abstain.
Warner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bill. The next item, item 9, was held over from the last meeting. We wanted more representation of the council here.
And now we've got less.
They're here at the last one though, right?
Well, we got different people this time.
Yeah, they were there. So they got the story.
So are we thinking we might defer this?
Move the table agenda item 9.
Second.
I mean, I don't know.
Motion second.
Do you want
Hey, they made a motion second.
table? Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to move forward or anything. Okay.
Stroller,
No.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Wait for
Johnson.
the other
Yes.
two.
It's tabled to the next meeting.
Well, actually, I think Lynn Norman may be planning to be gone the next meeting. And so we'll,
If
We have 8 other than 9, I say we go.
We got to get her done.
If I'm here
sometime.
by myself, I'm gonna consider this.
okay, okay. Okay.
Is that the 4th?
Yes.
Who decides if that comes on the
Which could be the big recommendation. Could be a
Item 10, consider an ordinance number 2014-8, amending Chapter 17 of the Prairie Municipal Code 2012 by addition of a new section 17-512 regulating sanitary sewer connections for the purpose of eliminating the introduction of prohibited waters from the Perry sewer system, providing for periodic inspections and/or test of sewer lines and facilities, homes, buildings, and appurtenances connected to said sewer, providing for penalties and violations thereof, savings, severability, repealer, codification, penalties, and declaring an emergency. Our engineer who just finished his study of the system is here, and he is going to report this evening.
Thank you. Just to give you a little bit of background, we performed a assessment of the entire municipal sanitary sewer system, and I gave a report on the results of that part of the study in November. And basically, if you remember, and as you all well know, the sanitary sewer system in Perry, a good part of it is very old. Was installed in the first 20 years of this 1900s. Hydraulically, without an influx of rainwater and some groundwater, it probably would be fine hydraulically. From a structural perspective, we're seeing lots of evidence of aging and distress and problems. But that's, not to be unexpected, and it's consistent with a lot of communities, around the country, actually. The real bad news, though, was that we saw a significant amount of inflow. And inflow is when surface water, specifically rainwater, makes its way into the sanitary sewer system. And then when those things happen, when that additional flow hits the sanitary sewer system, lots of bad things happen. There's surcharges that back up the sewer system. Those can ultimately find their way backing up into residences and businesses. There's overflows that can happen as those surcharges happen. That is a violation of the Clean Water Act, and there's problems and fines and things like that associated with that. And then finally, when all of the wastewater that makes it to the plant has to be treated. So in our case, when we see a lot of heavy rainfall, we see the flows at the plant go up by 100%. The plant isn't rated to handle that kind of flow. We can either do, we can do a lot of things, but the thing that makes the most sense is to start working on eliminating the inflow pathways. In the report, and the final report was submitted a few months ago, but in the report, we really identified a few problems or elements of the system that should be focused on. Those include manholes where the rim is below grade or in a depression where rainwater finds its way into the manhole from the top. Manholes that have structural deficiencies where they're leaking in from the sides. And then there was also pipelines that were defective. When we talk about inflow sources, there are those sorts of things, defective manholes and holes in the pipe, for instance, in the joints and things like that. But a big source of inflow is the introduction of rainwater on the private sector side. Many people, not many people, but occasionally people, when they put in their gutters for their house or their business, they take the downspout and then they pipe it directly into the sanitary sewer system. It gets the water off their property, and it goes away. And typically that's what happens. I don't think anyone really does this maliciously, but when the water is no longer on your property, it's no longer a problem, it's underground, you don't think about it. And individually, probably no particular one represents that big of a problem, but when you combine all of those sorts of things in this town, we have a big problem. So with the ordinance that is in front of you it's an ordinance that piggybacks on top of these sewer ordinance that you already have. It already is in non-compliance with the ordinance to tie in the kinds of things that we're talking about. But there's not, in addition to roof spouts, there could be area drains in the middle of a yard. It could be French drains that drain the foundation of your house, and they have to have a point of discharge. In many cases, it's the sanitary sewer system that people, find a way to get rid of that water. And it just happens over the years. It's this case in every community, large and small, in Oklahoma and throughout the country. So it's not something that is uncommon, but it is something that collectively is a problem. So what this ordinance does is piggybacks on the one that we've already got, but it provides for some specifics. And the specifics are, during the sort of first phase of the ordinance as it kicks in, there's a voluntary, private landowners, be it residential or commercial, can voluntarily disconnect these points of connection for rainwater. I think in the ordinance it's called illegal waters or something like that. So we give notice to the public. I would recommend that we also provide some public information and education for them, so they understand really what we're talking about and why it's a problem. And then there's a period where it's complete amnesty. Remove it and take it and disconnect it so it's no longer contributing illegal waters to the sanitary sewer system. Some of those things will be real easy to do. Some of those may not be that easy to do. Then there's another, once that sort of initial period, and I may have the details of the ordinance, I'm paraphrasing, so they may be slightly different. Then there's a next phase is that if a homeowner or a business owner voluntarily comes to the city and says, I have this issue, I'm going to take care of it, there's no penalty. But if they don't take care of it, or if the city finds it through an inspection, if that happens, if they find it through an inspection and they make the property owner aware of it and say, hey, this needs to be taken out, disconnected, if they do that, there's no penalty. It's only if they have it and they refuse to disconnect it, then there's a penalty.
Or they refuse to allow inspection.
Or they refuse to allow inspection, right. And in that case, the penalty is an increased sewer rate. Is that right? Yeah. It's something that many communities around the country over the last 20 or 30 years have implemented. It's something that works. It's something that cities have used to reduce their level of inflow. And again, I mean, this all means, it's a direct cost. Not only is there potential for, environmental issues, environmental noncompliance, which comes with consent orders and fines, but it also is a direct cost because when, these increased flows get to the plant, they have to be treated, and that costs money. I mean, there's a treatment cost for every gallon that we treat at the wastewater treatment plant. So at the end, there's a lot of benefits to the city, and one significant one is a cost benefit. The other significant benefit is that we can delay some of the repairs that we would ultimately have to make to get the system where we weren't having these flows that exceeded the capacity of the plant. With that, I'll probably stop. It's more than you wanted to hear, I imagine.
Why do we need to, I'm sorry, is it my turn to go?
Yes.
Why do we need to have make the people permit us on their place? Because we already have an easement to all the sewer lines and all the sewer manholes and all that kind of stuff. So why do we need to get on people's property?
Because many of these sources of inflow are not going to be on the public property. They're going to be on private property. For instance, I had a good friend in Enid, both of our, Bryce and I's friend. He had a...
Oh, it wasn't Bryce.
No, it wasn't. And you'll know in a minute why it wasn't. This guy had a bunch of hunting dogs, right? Bryce had a hunting dog. But, a kennel, a big kennel, and it sat out. And, and it turns out he was also a city councilman. And when we implemented a similar ordinance over there, and it never occurred to him until we were talking about this ordinance. He goes, oh my goodness, He goes, I've got, and this thing was probably 40 feet by 30 feet or something like that. And it was concrete, and it all drained into a drain that he had tied into the sewer system. So there's things like that. And yet people do that without any, malicious thought. It's just, hey, I got a way to get rid of it, let's do it. And so this ordinance, so again, much too long an answer to your
But
question.
couldn't you tell that by just looking at the sewer line and the sewer?
Not really, because they could tie into, and in fact they often do, there's the main sewer line that goes, and then there's a service that goes to the house, a smaller pipeline. And that pipeline is on their property. It's their private service until it gets to our right of way. Okay. If they tie that area drain or that kennel drain or their roof drains or basement sump pump drain into their service line, we could inspect our line. We could run a TV right up that line, see where their service connection is from their house or their business, but we would never know what's connected to that line on their side of the property.
But if they have a sump pump, you're gonna have to go in the house, correct?
That's right, yeah.
If we happen to be looking at the right time.
See, my house, Betty, is probably 120 feet from the sewer main. So in that 120 feet, I could tie anything I wanted to in there.
Right.
And they could never find that from the easement.
Right.
How are you gonna find it anyway? Really?
Inspection.
Exactly.
Well, one
A
big
lot
part
of it's done with smoke tests.
Yeah, I mean, the first wave is public education and awareness, and I feel confident that in that phase, we're going to, people are going to come forward because, well, again, they normally just don't think about it. They're going to come forward and they're going to, hey, I have this, and I didn't know that's what it did. I'll get it fixed. So hopefully, we'll gain some ground there. We'll see how much ground we gain. And then if we still continue to have a problem, the next thing is, as Bryce pointed out, is a technique called smoke testing. And you basically take an inert smoke and pipe it, blow it up the sewer, and it's amazing. You see smoke coming out of people's yards, you see smoke coming out of people's, downspouts. So yeah, but I say there is a cost associated with that. So the first phase of this would be public awareness and education, and see how much ground we gain. And then there's a tiered approach after that we can take.
Would this include like mop sinks and things like that?
No, if it's a mop sink at a house or even on a porch, that would be considered, I'm pretty sure building code would require that to be tied into the plumbing system. So it's more external things. So I mean, roof drains are a big one. Just think about
Just roof drains, that's
roofs.
major.
And even it's interesting in an old downtown district, all of these roofs, and I mean, 100 years ago they might have tied into the sewer and never thought about it. So,
Well, they did.
Yeah, they did. And in fact, the
You're gonna have a lot of property owners that aren't even gonna be aware
Right.
that they're tied.
That's right.
So
So
smoke comes
part
up
of
the
it
back
is
door.
public awareness and get them to think about it. Get them to maybe, hey, I don't know, maybe I should check and look. Yeah.
Well, I got 2 drains in my building that, I don't know. By code, I think they'd be tied into plumbing, but I kind of question them sometimes. I don't wash my car in my garage, but there is a drain, a mop drain in there, and I just wondered about those. And I have an area drain in the garage, and I wonder about it.
Well, if it's inside, if it's internal, then it's not going to be an inflow source, right?
Yeah, right.
So it should probably be tied into the plumbing. And again, if I don't want to volunteer somebody's time, but a good thing would be if somebody has a question. I mean, we have a code officer here, and that is the perfect guy to answer those questions.
Have you ever checked the water to make sure it's not salt water? I mean, do you ever test it?
That's going to the plant? Well, it does have salinity, but as far as, no, I don't know.
Because I've heard that some people are maybe putting their salt water from the oil fields in water drain.
Well, if that were happening, that salt water has such a high concentration of chlorides the plant would know it. If you dumped a truckload of that in, it'd die, the plant would die. I mean, the biological.
Our little bugs.
The bugs. The bugs would die.
Our good bugs
The
would
bugs
die.
would die.
And you don't want the bugs to die.
No.
So, other questions?
Yeah, so I'm thinking mostly what we're looking for is, like you say, the roof drains, trying to drain. I never thought about taking my gutter system and draining it into the city sewer. I would think about burying the spouts and having like a sand field or something that goes into away from the foundation, but not into a city sewer.
Yeah.
And then I would think, I'm just trying to think of my own circumstances, like maybe, I don't even know where my cleanouts are, but if I had a cleanout that wasn't capped.
Yeah, that's another
Something like
very
that.
good example. I mean, you know, these cleanouts are
I
usually
just
in the
thought
yard,
cleanouts.
you know, 10 feet off the building, you know, and depending on how old they are, you know,
Yeah.
you mow them and you knock the cap off and then the grass grows over them and you
Right.
don't even know it, you know, so.
That's what was just running through my head was I need to find my cleanouts now. See if we can do
Gotta
that.
cap the cleanout.
But yeah, that's another really good example of a source. And again, something that nobody even thinks about, nobody even knows it's there.
What's our plans for the city? The problems we have, like manholes that are too
Right.
low, you know, have we got a direction we're gonna try to go with that?
Well, I'll do a partial answer and then maybe Mary will kick in. But the plan that we've put together has some very specific projects, both in manholes and in pipe segment replacements. We're getting ready to, here pretty quickly, put out that contract, that CDBG funded project. That's going to replace, I forget, something around 1,000 feet of some of the worst pipe in town. So we've got that. I think in a few minutes I'm going to talk about something else, the Cedar Street Bridge replacement. And I don't know if you'll remember, but one of the other problems that we have in our sewer system here is that we have aerial crossings over creeks, I think at 4 locations, something like that. And those are just high risk and not good to have. And one of our recommendations was to get rid of them. Well, I think we're going to be able to get rid of one of those 4 with the Cedar Street Bridge replacement. So we're gaining ground on that. But as far as, you know, a long-term, we've got a list of things to do now. And I think the next step is to organize it into a program that is achievable, both, you know, financially and resource-wise.
This may be a question more for Bryce than for you, but I know we saw this ordinance, I don't know, a few meetings ago. And one of the issues I had was that once you grant permission for the inspection, it's an ongoing, you can't revoke it, it's an ongoing inspection. You did an authorization forever, basically. But one of the provisions in there, I think this is reworded, and I'm specifically talking about section 3, number C, 3C. I think in the past it said it may not be revoked. Well, right now it reads it may not be revoked by the original grantor. So if I live in a house and I grant access and they come inspect and everything, but then now the house is sold and I'm a new occupant, I just bought the property, all of a sudden I got city guys walking all over my stuff. I haven't given anybody permission. Is this written, it says it may not be revoked by the original grantor. Does that mean that we have to, if the property switches ownership, we have to re-engage that new owner?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm good with that. Because I think the last time it read differently. Last time I was concerned that if I'm a new owner of a property and all of a sudden I got people walking over the place, I would not be happy about that. But,
And I would think that our actual form, our inspection form would be in the nature of a temporary easement. It would, you know, it would only be probably the form for a period of time necessary to correct the thing, notwithstanding the ordinance, because of course we can do it however we want to do it in
Sure.
in what that permission would be. It certainly the purpose of it isn't for the the sewer police to show up all the time and make inspections. Once these things, and mostly a lot of them will be handled by concrete, right?
Well, a lot of them will be, if it's a roof drain, you know, just cut and cap the pipe that's
Cut
going
and
underground and let the roof discharge out on the ground surface, you know. Clean outs, again, another simple one, just find it and
Cap.
recap it, you know. Yard drains are a little bit more problematic because, you know, somebody, if they put them in, it was because they didn't want their yard to flood. So
But there's other methods to drain those
Yeah.
than sand fields and stuff
Sure.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's other ways to go, and I think that's probably part of what the public education, public awareness program can.
I like that idea, the stepped, phased-in approach.
Make a motion, we approve 2014A.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Stroller,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner,
No.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Good job. Item 11. Oh, we won't do emergency clause?
It won't pass.
Won't pass.
Yeah.
But we still want to make the motion.
You know, don't. Let us do a good job of getting the message out there.
Okay.
You know, I think that 30-day, quite frankly, let's
Well,
get the message
It'll
out.
also be published in total in the journal.
That is a problem. That's a huge cost.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, you
it'll
can
be-
try, but if you vote no, it won't pass, so you can try. It does save money, if anybody wants to.
Well, I'm just worried about giving permission. I get calls all the time because we're coming on people's property and they're complaining about it. I just don't like to get
Well, this
the
way it'll
blanket.
only be done with permission. But if you don't give permission, you're gonna pay a higher sewer bill.
Well, but that's kind
So,
of,
yeah,
And the permission is until the problem gets fixed,
yeah.
and it's been inspected the final time.
I would like to make sure we have plenty of cause before we
Well,
do this.
It
They
is,
are-
I mean, it's, initially, it's an education program that,
Well, but like
through the
you-
newspaper, through the utility bill, through.
Are we just gonna have
PIN,
somebody
through-
going out and inspecting all the houses? I mean, that kind of thing, and
Well, we'll have to be making contact with people if we, you know, if we.
It's
if
normally
we're
done in
aware.
areas at a
You do.
time. We're
Could you
coming out
address
to this
that?
area.
Sure. You've located areas that need to be.
Right, so we've prioritized the areas that, you know, that have the biggest I&I problem. And I say I&I is inflow and infiltration. We really don't have an infiltration, a groundwater infiltration problem here at San Antonio. But yeah, in our study, we've identified, you know, certain segments of the system, certain trunk lines that are much more problematic than others. So we would definitely focus on that. And a big part of town, a significant part of town has no inflow problem, so there wouldn't be any reason to go out and inspect those.
well, like our part of town, I think there's some old sewer lines in there, and I think they're cracked, and that's probably where a lot of it's coming from.
Sure.
And I know at one time, they were building new homes back over in like Eagle Lane and those areas. And they were leaving the caps off they were leaving the caps off the sewer things, you know? And it seemed like every time we get a big rain or something, that's when our sewers was off. overflow.
Absolutely, yep.
Leave the lid off the manholes?
Yeah, they were leaving the manholes off when they were building. I mean, that could be the
Yeah,
only
leave
thing
it
it could be unless they were just have a big hole there for the sewer, they haven't put it in yet.
You ever watch
you know?
your CMAT truck set in anybody?
I don't know. I don't know. But
There's all kinds of problems during construction you gotta fight.
I just don't wanna wake up some morning and see somebody looking in my window, I guess.
I won't.
I don't think there's
better
any
not.
reason we really need to declare emergency. I say we just don't declare any.
Well, the only reason we would do that is so that we wouldn't have to spend the money to put this in total. When you declare the emergency, you run the title. But it might be a good thing to be able to say, we ran it in total, we notified the Olive Perry that, in the newspaper, this is the ordinance, that we'll be complying with.
I think in this situation, I think that's not a bad idea.
Would it bother you if I asked Steve a question? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, okay?
That's fine.
But what is your procedure when you go to a piece of property and you have to do work, you basically try your darndest to stay on the right of way, correct?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, you don't go out and just traipse through someone's yard and go up and
usually-
use their water hydrant. And
Usually the only time
Peek
that
in
we
Betty's
have to
window.
go on personal property is when the access to the easement has been restricted by fences or something, and we have to go in through the front of the property to get into the backyard to a manhole or something to that effect.
But do you do your best to try to ask permission to go through there?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That's what I mean. Like Betty said, I've had people say something to me about there's city employees on my property. What a lot of people don't understand is we have an easement there.
And I don't mind them being on the easement.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I like them to be on the easement, you know, because it means they're doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want them checking my house and checking my eaves and,
Well, they have to ask your permission to do that.
well, how are they gonna
In
do
this
that? Are
order.
they just gonna, are they gonna call us, I hope?
They're gonna come until you give them permission.
Send you a letter,
They'll send you a letter.
I mean, it's not just.
Do you not want to give
tried,
them
she
permission for
wasn't
your
home.
house? What are you hiding up there?
No, I just don't want to, I don't know.
Pony Express.
I've just had a lot of complaints lately, okay, about similar to that. And I just don't want to make it worse.
Well, we're trying to make things better.
That's what I guess what is kind of confusing me a little bit. We're trying to make things better for the city of Perry,
For the city.
and the utility bills and our taxes, and
Free range
all the we're creating expense
Yeah, where's
because
that
we're
chicken?
overusing our sewer system, and we're trying to cut that down. We all ought to be in support of that.
And I think if,
Go ahead.
you know, if we find ourselves in a position of going for, you know, a loan from, you know, state agencies or whatever the case may be, they're gonna look at this. I mean, that's probably on the checklist of things that we have to do is an ordinance just like this.
I can make a
mean,
motion to declare emergency.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Stroller,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
For what?
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner,
No.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you.
Now you just cost us money, baby.
Well, we've got to do education anyway, and that's a good way to do it, if we've got to put it on the paper, you know?
It'll be in the legals. It won't be like an article, but it'll be a legal publication.
Well, it ought to be an article, I mean, we ought to pay to put it.
I mean, we'll do articles as well, but we
Yeah.
won't do it verbatim. We won't do the ordinance verbatim. No, it'll be illegal. Thank you.
Item 11. Approval of Resolution 2014-10, the City of Perry, Oklahoma, casting a vote for Mary Rupp to serve as a trustee at large for the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement.
So moved. For second.
Roll call, please.
Stroller.
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Thanks for the speech, Mayor. Good job.
Good job.
You have our
You
approval.
sold it.
You sold us. Item 12, consider approval of the Perry Master Improvement Plan for the municipal sanitary sewer system. Monsoon Consultants has completed a master improvement plan for the city municipal sanitary sewer system. And it's presented a plan to you earlier tonight. In an earlier meeting, we have copies, one copy of it here that you can look at. There's a copy at City Hall. I don't know, we've had those out too, didn't we?
Well, there's just, without all the
Hoopla.
numbers, we've got, you know, the front section was given to everybody and it was included in your packets. It does go through lots of great information, and it goes, you know, on page 13 starts the recommended improvement plan, which is probably the most important piece of this, because, you know, we spent a long time gathering the information, waiting for it to rain so we could put the flow meters in to determine the flows. And so, so all of that, those numbers were all crunched. And actually, it might have been Blaine's son that people were talking with you about, because he was going through a lot of people's yards opening up the manhole. He had a pick with him to use to open it up. So we did get a lot of calls when Blaine's son was going throughout the community and
He's not a City of Perry person though, so.
and checking it, yeah. So anyway, and we do try to announce that, public, but not everybody, gets the information that there's.
Blaine, would you go ahead and explain your master plan to some degree?
Sure. Again, this is something that we presented sort of the guts of in November, but just a real quick background. This has been 2 or 3 years ago now. Every year during budgeting time, the question came up: where are we going to put money into the sewer system? Water and sewer, the sewer. And it was always a question: where are we going to? Where's the best use of our funds? And there was not really a good, solid answer. So the council asked us to go through the entire system, do a comprehensive study of the entire system, and come up with a condition assessment. So what is the condition of the existing system? And that's both from a structural integrity perspective and from a hydraulic perspective. So hydraulic is there enough room in the pipe to move the water, the flow through? And structural is how badly the pipes and manholes decay. That's what we're talking about. It didn't include the wastewater treatment system. So we went through that. We did physical inspections. My son was the primary one, and that I would just tell you that summer pulling manholes gave him enough motive to apply for grad school, and he's back in the air conditioning. So we did a physical inspection of essentially every manhole. I think there's something like 560. I don't remember the number, but we found over 400 of them. Some are buried under pavement. Some were just couldn't find them. They're buried somewhere. But that's we found most of them. We identified a number of different types of categories of problems. We found that there's a significant inflow problem, which I just described. And the types of problems that we found with manholes, there were 3 types. There were some manholes that were just physically falling apart. I mean, structurally, they're gone. And these have been in the ground over 100 years. There were some manholes that the lid of the manhole, the top of the manhole, was subject to flooding. Either it may just be in a depression where rainfall runs into it, or it may be adjacent to a creek and the manhole's lid's pretty low, and when the creek comes up, creek water comes into it. And then there was another situation where the manhole was flooded, which is an indication that we've got a blockage downstream. So we identified all of those, and they're itemized in the report there. Of those, and then also there were pipe segments that we found to be defective or blocked or something like that. So we put together, it's a big list, as you can imagine. So we put together a prioritized list of each of those categories of projects or items to be corrected. That's in the report. There's a companion to that report, and there's cost estimates to go with that. So you have a tool for budgeting moving forward. And then the companion to that is we did a detailed mapping of the entire sanitary sewer system for everyone's use, but most valuable for your utility department's use, so they know where the manhole is, how is it tied into which pipes, what are the sizes of pipes, so that when they go out and have to do repairs or find manholes or things like that. We overlaid that on that fantastic imagery that you got from Pictometry. So eventually, wasn't part of this contract, but eventually we think we can just upload all of that sewer information as an overlay on your Pictometry, so that when you bring it up, it'll be a layer that anybody could look at. So anyway, that's kind of a summary.
I guess one of the things that surprised me the most about the report was the number of the manholes that were flooded even in dry weather conditions.
Yeah.
And so that's really worrisome to me, that we've got crumbled or something going on downstream from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Those can be 2 things. Those can be you know, a blockage that maybe isn't a, you know, a pipe failure, just, I hate to tell you what I just thought of, but.
No,
So it could be something that could be, you know, remedied with, by getting the jet, you know, or the vacuum truck in there to just clean it out. But I guarantee you, a significant number of them are collapsed pipes, or at least partially collapsed pipes.
But those are pipes that the city owns.
Yes, these are, the entire study deals with the sewer mains, right?
So is a fridge.
Move to approve the master plan.
Second.
Roll call, please. Thank you, Blaine.
Yeah.
Stroller,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 13. Consider submittal of an executed utility relocation agreement for water, electric, water, and sanitary sewer utilities to the Oklahoma Department of Transportation for utility relocation on the ODOT JP project 26421 State Highway 86 Cedar Street Bridge project. That's our cost, our responsibility to remove our utilities on most state projects. This is the agreements in this one is that we work with the utility department of the Oklahoma Department of Transportation's right-of-way branch to make sure we get those utilities in an area that will not be in conflict with the construction. That's mainly what it's about.
This is gonna be reimbursed.
The water and sewer, but not the electric.
But it has to be done once.
As we,
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Further discussion, please.
question?
Is, when we relocate this, will it be permanent? Or will something be moved back after the roads, the bridge is replaced? Or once we move it, is that gonna be a permanent situation?
We're gonna move it to a permanent location as what I understand. Is that not true?
Yes, to a permanent location.
Okay, would you, a while ago you talked about doing away with the overhead sewer line. Can you explain to us how you do away with that?
Yeah, in this case, the sewer that flows across Cow Creek at the bridge is actually, the flow is coming from east to west, and it's tying into a trunk line that's going out to the plant that runs along the railroad track, sort of on the west side of the creek there. What we're gonna do is, we have enough elevation to do this. We're gonna take out that aerial crossing of the creek, and we're instead gonna take the sewage from the intersection of Cedar and 4th Street and take it down Cedar Street to 3rd Street and tie it into an existing sewer over there. So we're basically, instead of coming back to the west and out to the plant, we're going to go to the east and out to the plant. And that actually ties into a section of sewer that replaced 5 or 6 years ago. We called it the Leo Park. It was a CDBG funded project. So that will actually tie.
And that line has the capacity to do so?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question?
Further question?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Roll call?
Stroller,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 14, new business. Would anyone like to bring new business for the council this evening? Seeing none. Item 15, convening an executive session for the purpose of confidential communication between the governing body and its attorney concerning potential claim or legal action involving downtown streetscape project. Since the governing body finds with advice of its attorney that disclosure seriously impaired the ability of the public body to process the claim or legal action in public interest.
Make a motion to convene the executive session.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Stroller,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Aye.
Warner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Stroller,
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Nation, oh, wait, Norman's here now, sorry.
Yes.
Nation.
Come on, Norman.
Yes.
Yes.
Wade, Warner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Gotta get down there.
Do the minutes have to show that I gave them?
7:49.
Yeah.
That was it?
You
It was
already-
elimination, right? Okay.
Item number 17 is not necessary because you feel you've already got our.
Yeah, I think I already have authorization.
Item 18, we got,
Stroller,
Forgot what we're doing, yes.
we're adjourning. Marshall?
Yes.
Yes.
Norman, Nation, Wade?
They were confusing me for a minute there.
What is going on?
I tell you, those people waiting for it to read.
Them mayors, they can twist things on you, you gotta watch it.